morning. It's the 25th of April, 2018. We made it to Hump Day. I'm hoping you have a good midweek. 2 more days and it's the weekend. Hang in there. I will try my best and hopefully I can help you feel a little better with all the food talk that we are going to do today. Looking forward to a very exciting episode. Please stick around. We will have so much fun.
And in the end, I'm just glad we're friends.
You are listening to the Food, Fine Wine, and Festival podcast on It's Just Another Ordinary Joe series, F4 in the series Wednesdays. On this show, you will learn more about everything food culture in Toronto, new restaurants opening, food events, food festivals, discounts, bloggers, food vloggers, everything to celebrate the diversity of food in this wonderful city.
I can't pretend, I'm just glad we're friends.
Thank you for joining our Wednesday podcast today. Here on It's Just Another Ordinary Joe Show podcast series, Wednesday is all about food. Wednesday is all about fine wines, beer, beverages, any mouth-watering imagination you can conjure up in your mind. This is the time, this is the place, this is the podcast that you need to get involved with. It's Just Another Ordinary Joe Show, food, fine wines, and festival podcast.
To quote an old and wise Filipino comedian, if you don't cook, you don't eat. If you don't eat, you die.
Welcome back to the Wednesday Food Podcast here at the Ordinary Joe Show. Thanks for joining me again. The following will be a snippet from the overtime from last Wednesday episode. I promise you that I will cover some stuff that I actually did, but it went overtime, so I had to save it and repost it here on today's podcast. And we'll open with the remainder of last week's episode. And just like an American-style TV series, like an action series like 24, Jack Bauer, we'll start our episode similar to a tele-series on American TV. We'll start with Previously on 24 or Previously on the Ordinary Joe Show. And then from that point on, we will continue and create the fresh episode today. But here's the last time on It's Just Another Ordinary Joe Show food podcast. Welcome back. Thank you for giving me company on this program today and allowing us to have this very intimate food time, a conversation about food, some news, some jokes, some funny moments. See, I already broke the rule again. If it was cable TV, I went past the time limit of half an hour show. But I told you just before the break, I'm coming back. So should I just drop it and not come back and break my promise? That wouldn't sit well with you, wouldn't it? Well, that's why I'm back. Because I told you I'll be back. Just like Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back. That's why I'm back. But this is what I have a little contemplation before we go back to our Ribfest binging. I want this to be a conversation. You know, when you hit it off with somebody that you like, you make very good friendship with someone, and you have conversations about everything. It could be politics, it could be movies that you like, it could be social issues or life issues about, what goes on with you and your family and your personal life. And if you really hit it off with someone and you really like the conversation, I remember when I was in high school back in the Philippines, we could be on the phone for hours and not get tired of each other's voice. because we're picking up so many valuable information from each other. Guess what? This is what I want to accomplish here with our podcast sessions. I'm hoping that it feels like a telephone conversation between you and me. And that's why I want you to come and please visit some of our video platform for our podcast as well, YouTube, Facebook, Vimeo, so that you can return some feedback, some reactions to the things that we said, the things that we're saying here, especially on the food blog, or food podcast. Share your thoughts, share things that you want us to talk about here on the podcast, things that you want us to cover. Or you might have some very important information that you would like to share with the rest of the community here, podcast listeners and followers. We have about over 10,000 followers on our Facebook page, and it keeps growing every day. At least I see about 200 more followers being added to our community. We need to have an interaction. This community need not to be like just one host talking to everyone. And I know, it's such a pleasure for me. It's a joy for me to deliver this show for you guys on a daily basis. But I really want to hear back from you as well. And if you got something to share, mi casa, su casa will be applicable to microfono, mi microfono, su microfono. I want you to have a voice. That's what the narrative of the Ordinary Joe Show is all about. It's for ordinary people, a platform for everyone. So I might be the facilitator, I might be hosting the daily show, but I really want to hear your voice. I really want to hear your opinion. I want you to share, and it's valuable information for everybody to enjoy here at the Ordinary Joe Show, because this is not just a show. Maybe we'll have to rename this podcast and call it It's Just Another Ordinary Joe Community Podcast, right? We'll see how it goes, but yes, I really do want to hear your opinion and your thoughts. And if you got something very important to share, it might be something about culinary arts, might be an heirloom recipe from your family, a traditional recipe that you traditionally, religiously serve for your family on special occasions like Christmas, Easter, New Year's, or a certain heirloom recipe that you share with the family and friends if there's graduation, let's say, or a promotion, a job promotion in your family. So things like that. I want this to be a conversation. I got so much to share, but if I take all of the airwaves and not hear from you, then it's not a conversation, it's a monologue. I don't want it to be a monologue. I want it to be a conversation, a chat, like a telephone call. Like you call me and I call you, or I call you and we have a long conversation on the phone. Except there's 10,000 other people who participate and listen to our conversation, and also be given the chance, the opportunity to butt in anytime. So we have all those platforms. We have iTunes, Spreaker, SoundCloud for our audio podcast, and then we have Facebook, YouTube, Vimeo on our video podcast, and we might expand from this point forward. I do announce every new episode on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and I'm not very good at Google Plus, and I'm not a very good Instagrammer, but something I need to learn, because I'm a digital marketer and my clients will be needing that in the future. So it's a process, it's a work in progress, all of these. And I got some food trivia I want to share with you, but I promise you, let's close off with the 3 other Rib Fest that's happening in the city that you might want to put in your calendar. Let me get that for you. Hello. Well, I guess it's not that urgent to get it all out there, because the next 3 Rib Fest event, after the one that I already shared with you today, will not happen not until August. So the first one in August is August 3rd to 6th. Millennium Park, Collingwood, Ontario. This is the Collingwood Ribfest. So if you live in the Collingwood area, I'd really want to reach out and expand our community and our friend circle out there in Collingwood. What a nice place that is, Collingwood. Millennium Park, Collingwood, Ontario, on Friday, August 3rd, 12 p.m. to 12 a.m., 12 hours straight. Saturday, August 4th, 12 p.m. to 12 a.m., and again Sunday, August 5th, 12 p.m. to 12 a.m., and Monday, August 6th, 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. Well, that's Monday, but there's going to be a lot of people there, or maybe because it's being wind down already. Children 12 and under are free, 13 plus, only $3. Free parking, free concert with admissions. No pets allowed, no smoking allowable, wheelchair accessible. 3482 9th line, Innisfil, Ontario. Again, Innisfil, Ontario, but this is in Collingwood. One of those, again, website delegate, whoever is the website delegate who needs to be updating, probably is not able to do the job properly. But you can look it up. If you live in Collingwood, you would know where the Collingwood Ribfest, the Millennium Park would be.
Don't go away, we'll be right back in about 60 seconds.
Don't need to find a reason to tell me that they're singing.
Thank you for sticking around, and a friendly reminder to all our friends who are followers of our F-Series. Tomorrow, Thursday, we talk about fitness, health, and fashion. So, are you a person who wants to change your life, want to start a new habit and be fit? Maybe a new exercise program, or maybe redo your diet. You know, a lot of people think that this kind of programs are only for jocks and for buffs, but the honest truth is, it's for everyone. Like for myself, I'm a middle-aged, fat, balding man, and this is why I want to reintegrate a new habit of fitness and health regimen for myself. And we talk about that every Thursday, 12 Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, and 9 a.m. Pacific. Here at It's Just Another Ordinary Joe Show, fitness, health, and fashion Thursdays podcast. See you there.
Welcome back to our regular programming. Here, joining the 2018 Ontario Festival Group Ribfest Tour is Collingwood Ribfest, and will take place on the Civic Long Weekend, August 3rd to 6th, 2018, and it will be held in the Millennium Park in Collingwood. Produced by Ontario Festival Group, we are bringing 4 of North America's biggest, best rib team coming from Florida, Alabama, BC, and Ontario. These pitmasters are ready to serve you and your friends award-winning, mouth-watering barbecue smoked ribs. There will be a variety of festival food like corn dogs, roasted corn, yum 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 yum, poutines, funnel cakes, and of course, to wash it all down, nice cold beer. There will be plenty of activities, including a kids zone. Don't give your kids beer. With jumping castles, face painting, marketplace, artisans, parasailing tours, and more. Watch live music all weekend long. And here, let me read to you the lineup of concerts and bands that they're going to feature at the Collingwood Ribfest. They got Coming of Age, and they got somebody who will look like Bob Marley, featuring Lazo, who will give a Bob Marley tribute. Exodus, Tragically Hip tribute. The Almost Hip band will do a Tragically Hip tribute by the Almost Hip Band tribute band. Stacey Renee. Stacey Renee. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Renee. Renee. Maybe. Alicia Cole will be on the Ribfest Festival, and she will be featuring her new album called Talk to Me by Alicia Cole. AC/DC will be at the festival. Presented by Who Made Who AC/DC Tribute. Who Made Who Band. Bon Jovi will be there as well. Bon Jovi Forever. Presented by Bon Jovi Forever Tribute Band. Rich Cloak. Bernadette Connors. Bernadette Connors, ladies and gentlemen. Don't miss out on the Collingwood Ribfest Festival. The Ontario Festivals Group is a series of Ribfest tours happening all over Ontario, and they make it big. It's a big event every single one of this Ribfest, and you can do a Ribfest hop, and a Ribfest tour if your family loves ribfesting, I would say. Then when you're done at the Collingwood Ribfest Festival, the week prior on August 3, then the weekend after, plan your tour to the next one, which is on August 10 to 12. Now we're talking about the Wasaga Beach Ribfest. I like Wasaga Beach. I don't like as much, their sand is a little rough for me, but I like driving up there at Wasaga Beach near, I think it's towards Barrie, wasn't it? Location, 3rd lot, 2nd Street and Beach Drive, Wasaga Beach, Ontario. Friday, August 10, Saturday, August 11, and Sunday, August 12, from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. on Friday, 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. on Saturday, and 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Sunday, because you have to go to work on Monday. Children 12 and under free, and only $3 for 13 and above if you're still a child. But when you say 13 plus, how plus? How up plus? Is it 18 still 13 plus? 19 still 13 plus? Well, if you can pull it off, maybe you can pay for your entrance with $3. Free concert with admission, no pets allowed, no smoking allowed like the other ones. Joining the 2018 Ontario Festival Group Ribfest Tour is Wasaga Beach Ribfest, and will take place on August 10 to 12, 2018, held at the 3rd Street lot and Beach Drive, produced by Ontario Festival Group. And they're bringing 4 of the North America's Ribfest teams coming from Florida, Alabama, BC, and Ontario. These pitmasters are ready to serve you and your friends award-winning, mouth-watering barbecue smoked ribs. Same as the other one, right? But let's go with their lineup of entertainment. They got Bob Marley coming back, Blue Radio by the Blue Radio Tribute Band, Toby Keith, Let's Have a Party by Toby Keith Tribute Band, Neon Nostalgic, the fonts that they use on Neon Nostalgic is the same fonts for Stranger Things. Retro Rock Review, the best of 1980s to 1999, is going to be delivered by Neon Nostalgic. Crooked Zebras will be in the fest. Johnny Cash, can you believe it? Johnny Cash will be on the Ribfest at Wasaga Beach, and it will be delivered by Rick Euler. Euler? Rick Euler. Johnny Cash by Rick Euler. Tragically Hip will be there again, same as the other one from Collingwood. The Almost Hip Tribute Band will be delivering. Southern Belle, Carl Dixon will be on the event schedule, and he will be covering his album called Whole Nother Thing. Last in the list will be the Halliburton Ribfest, which will be happening on the 24th, the 25th, and 26th of August. Same time, 12 p.m. to 12 p.m. to 11 p.m. And on the Sunday will be 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. because of the work day the next day. Children 12 and under, still free. 13 and above, only $3. And they would have the same pit masters from Alabama, Oklahoma. Oh, it's a little different. This one is from Alabama and from Oklahoma. And they have the 3 North American best rib team from those 2 places, Alabama and Oklahoma. The lineup of entertainment will Bob Marley will be back, Toby Keith will be back, the Ultimate Blue Radio Tribute Band will be back, The new in the lineup will be Ride On, Cardinal Street Band. Carl Dixon, Whole Nother World will be back, and the Lonely Hearts will be joining the team to entertain you. And the last one will be in Owen Sound Rib Festival and Music Festival. Bayshore Community Center, 1900 3rd Avenue East, Owen Sound, Ontario. September 14, September 15, September 16. I think school will be starting already. Kids will be back to school by that time. But maybe not in Owen Sound. Who knows? So if you're in the Owen Sound area, Bayshore Community Center, 1900 3rd Avenue East, Owen Sound, Ontario. This is their 8th annual Owen Sound Rib Fest. Still, they have been facilitated by Ontario Festivals Group. Their lineup of pitmasters will be coming from Texas, Florida, Alabama, and Ontario. Four pitmasters from those countries, provinces. Lineup of events and entertainment will be the Ultimate Blue Radio Tribute, Bob Marley, Toby Keith, The Lonely Hearts, and Bon Jovi Forever Band. Alright, so those are for the Rib Fest for the whole summer. So you have two choices. Well, actually more than two. Next week on the episode of Food and Fine Wines and Festival podcast, we will talk about the other independent ones. Because right now we talk about this big Rib Fest facilitated by the big production companies. But next week we will talk about the independent Rib Festivals happening all over the city in Toronto, the GTA area. But that's all for the Rib Fest. Don't go away. We'll be back in about 60 seconds. Welcome back. Thank you for sticking with me for the whole hour. This is the very first episode for the food blog, for the food podcast, that we stretch it out for the whole hour. It didn't feel like the whole one full hour for me. It felt like it went by so quickly. But there's so many other things that we won't be able to touch on just because we have so many announcements to cover, and that's the nature of the business. That's most important because we want it to be an informative service for all you guys out there. And although I want to spend a lot of time that we have a conversation, we have an exchange, we think about some culinary arts conversation that we need to carry out, we need to talk about, but we need quality time for that. We need quality time to talk about very important stuff, and unfortunately we're running out of time. So it's not wise to start here and then let you be hanging until next week. But maybe it's a good thing so that I can make sure that we come together and talk again next week. Well, let me tell you this. Next week, I have some culinary arts trivia I lined up for us to, like a quiz, and just to kind of evaluate how much knowledge do we have about foodie community, foodie culture, and the culinary arts. And I got a lineup of quiz I'm gonna throw out there. Maybe we'll I don't know, we'll have some sort of contest. I don't have a lot of resources to award a prize, to be very honest, but we'll make it creative. Maybe the prize would be I don't know, the person who will get the right answers will be the person who will do the break announcements, the break time announcements. We'll see how it goes. And I want to ask anybody here listening to our podcast, anybody of you food bloggers, anybody among you are YouTubers, food YouTubers, cooks, sous chefs, anyone among you out there who's really involved in culinary arts, please hit me up. Please email me at joseph.salvador@ordinaryjoeshow.ca. There's a big event in the summer also called the CNE, and during the CNE they have a lineup of chefs that gets on stage and show their signature dish. Anybody knows anybody from the organizers of the CNE? If you are out there and you're involved in that scene, it'll be awesome to have you as a contact person if we can cover that event. But unofficially, we will tell you about what's happening down there at the CNE, the lineup of chefs, their credentials, their particular discipline, their thoughts on certain issues of the culinary art culture, the culinary art world. We'll bring those things to you. But it would be nice to have cooks and chefs and food bloggers, food vloggers, and food podcasters to come on and be our guests on the show. Like I said, I'm not a connoisseur of food. I love food as a consumer, not as a as a podcaster. What I bring you is what other people care about. Relevant information in terms of events, relevant information in terms of the heat map of the culture. What are things caring about? What do people care for in terms of the foodie culture in Toronto? I deliver all of you these things that you could research yourself, but maybe you don't have the time, you don't have the energy, and you just want to listen to it instead of reading it on the Twitterverse or the internet world, because you are listening to this podcast during your work. And I encourage you to bring your iPods, your mobile phone, and download the podcasting app. If you have an Apple phone, if you have an iOS, you can download from the App Store the podcast app for Apple. And for Android, they have so many apps also where you can listen to It's Just Another Ordinary Joe Show podcast. You can download Spreaker, you can download SoundCloud, and iTunes is called Podcast on mobile. And you can listen to our presentation, our program at your work while you're working, right? As long as it doesn't disturb you away from focus of your work, whatever. Some people if you are a heart surgeon, please don't listen to the podcast while you're doing surgery, unless that's your thing. If it inspires you to carry out a magnificent heart surgery just because you're listening to the sound of my voice, then by all means, please do. If that saves the person's life. I have my own biases against surgeries and all that, especially transplanting. I don't like it, but that's for another day. And if you're a rocket scientist and you're in the middle of a launch of a spaceship towards Mars, please don't listen to my podcast while you're in the middle of the launch, except if it inspires you. If the sound of my voice inspires you to be super accurate with that trajectory and you not miss your target planet, and maybe find some water in Mars and bring them home. Because as you know, many of our social engineers makes us believe that there's a scarcity of water on Earth, which is not true, by the way, but most people are buying into it. But that's for another whole other conversation. But next week I will, when we come back to our food, fine wines, and festival podcast, I will discuss with you the top 20 picks for Summerlicious last year, 2017, versus the top 20 picks for Summerlicious this year, 2018. But I guess they won't release that until after the actual Summerlicious event is over, right? So we are going to focus on the 2017 and see if they can hold up to the new challenges of this year, and if these top 20 picks can maintain their can maintain their placement. How do you say that? Their lead, their lead, and more than 200 restaurants in Toronto participating in the Summerlicious event. Some of the top names that we can recognize already: Benihana, Auberge de Pommier, Bimart Café Bolud, Canoe, Hawthorne Food and Drinks, Hungry Amu, Los Colibris, Maple Leaf Tavern, Momofuku Daishu, The Fifth Enteris, Thoroughbred, and much more. We'll one by one we'll go through the top 20 last year's top 20 Summerlicious favorites that was put together by the NowToronto.com magazine. And we're also going to touch a little bit about the Food Truck Festival, which is an annual event in Toronto, and it's participated by many food trucks that you don't actually. There's hundreds of food trucks all over the city, but here in downtown Toronto, we tend to think that all the food trucks are only situated around the university, Innis. I forgot what it's called, by the science department there at U of T. But that's not true, because there's actually hundreds and hundreds of food trucks all over the city if you only know where to find them. So for next week's episode, we're actually going to touch on that, if we can squeeze it in our half an hour show. Half an hour goes really fast. I'm even skipping out on many of the breaks, but there's so much to cover. And if we have time within the half an hour allotment that we get, there's also a new restaurant, a new fast food chain in town, Jollibee. It's not because I'm Filipino, and that's not the only reason I'm gonna cover it, but Jollibee is hitting the news all over the world. The first one in Toronto. The Toronto branch, the Toronto restaurant, is actually special for Jollibee. They have about 1,000 branch in the Philippines, but this one is their 40th international branch in their 40th year of business. That's why Toronto branch is really important for Jollibee. And it's very important for the Filipinos in Toronto who's been waiting it for decades now, and finally it's here. So we are going to cover it next week. So I hope to see you again next week for another episode of Food, Fine Wines and Festivals, only here at It's Just Another Ordinary Joe Show Daily F-Series Podcast. Hope to hear you again next week. God bless you all, and looking forward to our next chat. Bye-bye.